Meanwhile, at the top of the show, I mentioned the economic linchpin role that Manny Pacquiao now occupies in the lighter weight classes. Many fighters from near his weight neighborhood visibly chasing a fight against Manny Pacquiao, and one of them is Humberto Soto. As he gets ready to fight Francisco Lorenzo, you can see the 8-year age advantage for Soto. Lorenzo probably wouldn't still be fighting if he didn't have 7 children and had lost his wife to a cerebral hemorrhage death a couple of years ago. Single father of 7, trying to make as many Dominican dollars as he can make before he leaves the sport. So he's the opponent against Soto, who has a 2-inch height advantage, an arm length equal measurement at 23 inches from the armpit to the end of the fist. They both weighed in at 130, and Humberto Soto has rehydrated 15 pounds overnight, will come in with an unofficial weight advantage of 5 pounds over Lorenzo, coming into the ring at 145 pounds. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Humberto Soto-Francisco Lorenzo fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules that you see on your screen. Jim, real quick, the 4 criteria that the judges will use to score each individual round: clean punching, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and defense, with a strong emphasis on clean, effective punching. Jim!
All right, let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay of Las Vegas, the action continues. Brought to you by Top Rank Incorporated in association with HBO Pay-Per-View, along with Tecate, Cerveza with Attitude, and Affliction. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this contest, should it go the distance, are Ed Kugler, Jerry Roth, and Herb Santos. And inside the ring, the referee in charge of the action, Joe Fair but Firm Cortez. And now, on the line, the interim WBC world title, 12 rounds of boxing. This is in the super featherweight division. Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing blue with white, officially weighing 130 pounds. Professional record, 32 victories, including 14 knockouts, 4 defeats, from Irvington, New Jersey. The WBC number 2 ranked super featherweight in the world, Francisco El Jaguagao Lorenzo. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing gold with black, official weight 130 pounds. 43 victories in his professional career, including 28 knockouts, 6 defeats, 2 bouts even. Damas y caballeros de los Mochis, Mexico, ranked number 1 in the world by the WBC in the featherweight division, Humberto El Zorrita Soto.
Ok, caballeros, ya vi las reglas de los dos en el camerino. Espero una pelea limpia. La truza aquí está un poco alto, el golpe aquí está bueno. También aquí está un poco alto, el golpe aquí está bueno. Tóquense las manos, los guantes, gracias, suerte a los dos.
A made-to-order assignment for Soto, still recovering from the disappointment of his November loss to Dominican star Juan Guzman, a counter-puncher in a fight in which Soto complained he didn't want to fight. He simply wouldn't engage me. It wasn't really what we're supposed to be able to do. Soto is himself an all-out aggressive fighter, and here he gets to fight a guy who says he throws 120 punches per round and doesn't have punching power. So this is probably a matter of seeing whether the cagey veteran Lorenzo can somehow survive Soto's body onslaught and bamboozle him somehow, or more likely, Soto just hits too big.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that he has never been knocked out, meaning that it possibly could go to limit, meaning Lorenzo, he's never been stopped.
Or it becomes one of those credentials for Soto's resume. I knocked out a guy who had never been knocked out before, despite having beaten Nate Campbell in a split decision in St. Petersburg, and fought Juan Diaz to a close split decision loss in Diaz's hometown of Houston. Those are 2 pretty good credentials for Lorenzo to show that he really can fight. But Soto is already hitting him with bigger punches than probably either Campbell or Diaz were able to land.
And I see why it can be so difficult, because he keeps his hands held high. And he has his own way of like feeling punches coming, so it's hard to land a clean punch on him.
The question will be, how does he hold up if Soto can get to his body? Humberto Soto beat Rocky Juarez to make his first big splash on the sport in Chicago a couple of years ago, and he did it with vicious punches to the ribcage.
Yeah, and he's going to have to step up the tempo, but if he fights at this tempo, which Lorenzo is very comfortable at, it could end up being a boring fight that he'll win. He's going to have to step it up and pressure him a little bit more.
Soto using this first round, it appears, to kind of get a look at Lorenzo and begin to figure the equation. How do I get to this old man's ribcage? And Lorenzo, as you say, Emmanuel, pretty comfortable with the way things are going, though he gets caught with a little uppercut there.
And I think that's the key, to shoot punches up and through the middle. It's going to be very difficult to hit him with punches on the outside the way he kills his guard. So punches up between the center is going to be probably his most effective punch.
Right hand over the top by Lorenzo. I mean, lest you think that Lorenzo might at some point hurt Soto, that seems unlikely. He's got 14 knockouts and 32 wins over a long career in the ring. Usually when you see that, it means a guy does not have a ton of power. His last fight, incidentally, was an 8-rounder in the Dominican Republic, which goes to show you that Lorenzo is just trying to stay busy and make as many dollars as he can before he leaves the sport.
Yeah, with 7 kids, I can understand that.
Spoke about his deceased wife as though she's still with him. Very poignant. In our fighting meeting yesterday, he said, well, I've got my wife and 7 children. We kind of looked at him oddly, knowing that his wife died of a cerebral hemorrhage a couple of years ago, and he smiled, and he said, she's still with me. Humberto Soto hunting for opportunities to land something hard. And it's Lorenzo who's landed a couple of good shots across the top with the right hand in round number 1.
Breathe now. Breathe well. Again. Breathe.
Okay. Estamos muy ofensivos.
All right.
Vamos a empezar defensiva.
Well, a lot of our time was spent on the offensive. Now, be a little bit more defensive now. Work the jab. All right, work the jab. Work much more jab and the right over the top. And he's catching that one. You got to press intelligently. So when he comes in, when he misses, then you got to come on the inside. Don't bring your right hand down. Keep it up.
It's interesting. I talked at the top about how Soto's hunting for a fight against Manny Pacquiao. Lorenzo, in his cagey veteran way, said, you know, Soto's not one of the top guys. I'm not really interested in what I do against him. I assume I'm going to beat him. I want to fight Pacquiao too.
Very interesting.
Everybody within 100 miles of 135 pounds is going to want to fight Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao is just what Oscar De La Hoya used to be. And well, still is to some degree. He is the big cash cow if you can get a fight with him.
He's the bell cow.
You know, Lorenzo is old by boxing standards, but the fact that he said he was in the military when he was in the Dominican Republic, and therefore it was, I guess, like being on a national team. They frowned on him turning professional, so that's why he was so late fighting professional, because he was on a military boxing team so long.
Didn't turn professional until 27, but has been boxing since he was 13 years old. Now Soto begins to get to Lorenzo's body, and that's really where the proof of the pudding is going to be found. If Lorenzo can hold up against Soto's body attack, he might have something intriguing. If not, then it could be a shorter night than Lorenzo is used to. Hard shot across the top by Soto. Lorenzo takes these punches pretty well, but that's big hitting compared to what he's accustomed to in the past. And you see that left hook that moves Lorenzo back. And Soto is strafing him with big shots in this round, and already Soto has begun to find some solutions to what's in front of him.
And he's got to keep this same tempo up and win this fight. Sometimes you're not going to knock out a guy by just one single punch. You just have to use accumulation of punches and pressure, and that's what he's going to have to do if he's going to try to score a knockout tonight.
Joe Cortez warning Lorenzo not to hit Soto below the belt. Soto didn't seem to be bothered by the shot on the waistline really at all. Soto comes from Los Mochis, way south in Mexico in the state of Sinaloa. Los Mochis has become one of those giant concentrations of boxing talent, as Jorge Arce, one of the stars of the 108, 112-pound weight classes, hails from Los Mochis, as does Fernando Montiel, who's suddenly the knockout star at 118. And Arce's the kind of guy, there could be 20,000 people in the room. If he's there, you're going to know that he's there. He's directly across the ring from us, jumping up and down out of his seat, whooping it up, though tonight without the trademark cowboy hat. Haven't seen whether he's got the lollipop.
He is quite a character, baby. I've met him in person when I was in Mexico a couple of times.
Oh, he's crazy.
Saca los brazos, cuidado con la cabeza derecha, saca los brazos.
This was a rough round for Francisco Lorenzo. Humberto Soto is starting to draw a bead on him with big power shots. Referee for the main event between Manny Pacquiao and David Diaz is Vic Draculich. Let's take a look at some Draculich referee's instructions in Pacquiao's dressing room.
Okay. Thing that I pay close attention to is if your opponent goes down on the mat or helpless in the ropes, don't take that last punch, because if you do and I deem it to be a late harmful blow, what I'll do is instead of giving him 10 seconds to recover, I'm going to call time, make a determination if he can continue. If he can continue, I'll allow it to continue, but I'll deduct at least 1, probably 2 points because of the infraction. If he can't continue, it's an automatic disqualification. So it's very important when he goes down, get back in that neutral corner, and please stay in that neutral corner until I call you out at the completion of the count. Okay. All right? Things I'll be watching for real closely. Use of forearms, elbows, shoulders, forehead, rabbit punches, kidney punches, and the low blows. All right? Bottom line is just obey my commands in there, protect yourself at all times. Any questions?
No, sir.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you very
good
much.
to see you. All right, then.
Good luck, Pacquiao.
Round 3 upcoming between Humberto Soto and Francisco Lorenzo. Soto in the gold trunks, Lorenzo in the blue. Power punches in the second round. Soto 22 out of 63. Lorenzo 16 out of 53, but the numbers don't really tell the story. It's the nature of the impact which provides the big difference. Humberto Soto is a very hard hitter for the 130-pound weight class.
He's a big, big puncher. He still hasn't been able to find a clear target yet tonight, though.
Chipping away, and there's a hard left hook by Soto. An uppercut, more and more it appears, is going to be the punch that might do the damage.
I agree, Jim, but he's not throwing that many punches up through the center. He's mainly throwing his punches on the side.
Well, like so many Mexican stars of the past in particular, what Soto's really most comfortable doing, if he can get at it, is the left hook to the body. Look at him counter-punching there. He can lead and he can counter. That's one of the dangerous things about him.
You know, Lorenzo does pretty fair for old man when it comes to his upper body movement. You really can see his age in his legs a lot. He's very stiff and rigid in his legs, which, as I say, the legs are the first thing that goes on a fighter.
It's interesting. The one thing that the two fighters have in common is contempt for Juan Guzman. Soto dislikes him because of the nature of their fight won by Guzman, in which Guzman sort of cutely stayed away from him and taunted him with counterpunching down the stretch. And Francisco Lorenzo, who is from Dominican Republic, basically dismissed him and said, oh, I'm not interested in fighting Guzman. He's not really a star guy, which is fascinating because, of course, right. Guzman's unbeaten.
And I think one of the best fighters in the world, but he tries to dismiss him as if he doesn't even exist, really.
That's right.
But he also, as an amateur, he fought in one of the Latin Championship finals against Miguel Cotto. When I guess it was both at the same weight at that time.
When he was a grown man and Cotto was a boy.
Yes.
And he said, yes, you could see what a star Cotto was going to become.
Yeah, so evidently he lost to Cotto then. He didn't say that. He said, I fought him.
Well, Cotto had a spectacular amateur career.
Yes, he did. He has a victory over one of our top amateur fighters at the time, which was Ricardo Williams.
Head clash here between Soto and Lorenzo. And
Come up here.
Soto, who already has some blood around the right eye, appears to have gotten his bell rung on this one.
Accidental headbutt.
You hear Joe Cortez with the audible ruling. Accidental headbutts are a good reason for Soto to want to try to get Lorenzo out of there. Nobody's ever been able to do it. Probably Nate Campbell thought he could knock him out. Didn't happen, and he wound up losing a decision against Lorenzo. Maybe Juan Diaz thought the accumulation of punishment would do it, but he had to settle for a split decision in his hometown of Houston. Diaz, hoping to bounce back after his loss to Nate Campbell, will be fighting Michael Katsidis in September in what promises to be an all-out war. Very much like Cotto Margarito, that's a fight you don't want to miss. Body shot by Lorenzo, another body shot by Lorenzo. Keeping Soto occupied as Soto hunts for opportunities to land something big.
And Lorenzo is not playing the role of an opponent. He's actually trying to win this fight.
No, he thinks he can win it. He believes that against anybody. Belligerent would be the attitude.
Okay, mira. Okay, I don't want. Vamos a trabajar, a poner un poquito más de presión.
We're going to work now and try to put a bit more pressure on
No
them.
te quiero arco.
But crouch. I don't want you straight up. Crouch.
No te quiero arco.
But I don't want you to be straight up. Work the jab. Work the jab.
Cuando se meta adentro.
Work the jab, and when he comes in on the inside, throw the punches.
5 y 6 golpes y para el lado. 5 y 6 golpes.
I'll put the Vaseline on.
Combi box numbers through round 3. Soto 59 out of 211. Lorenzo 37 out of 155. Harold, how do you have it?
3-0. 30-27, Humberto Soto. Jim, in addition to that real good left hook to the body, watch the way Humberto Soto drops the right hand. You know, like all tall fighters, they learn how to drop a right hand down on you, and he's beautiful with that. The whole body comes behind it, the shoulder. It's a very, very powerful shot. You just saw him do it right there. He'll turn it over and drop it down. 3-0, Humberto Soto.
Soto's one of those guys, very much like Antonio Margarito, who got into the sport out of poverty. Was not managed or promoted early in his career. Wound up fighting people whom he didn't really know how to fight because he didn't have experience. Therefore has a series of early losses that don't really define how good he is. Then there's a long win streak that leads up to the appearance where he was expected to be an opponent against Rocky Juarez and rocked Juarez repeatedly.
I think that's a good way to describe his career. And like some of the Mexican guys, he was fighting for money.
Margarito's the same thing.
Yeah, and didn't really have much of an amateur background in addition to that. They just had to fight. Well, they would have been amateur fighters in America. They was fighting professional because they needed the money.
And because of his poor background, Soto's intensely conscious of money. Every time he has a fight that provides him with a decent paycheck, he tries to add to his fleet of vehicles in Los Mochis, where he has a bus and 4 taxis in the taxi fleet working there. And he said to us yesterday, this is definitely one more taxi for me. And I think the governor of Sinaloa is going to help me get another bus. So he's working to build his business at every step. Good right hand by Soto. And Lorenzo walked right into that one. Lorenzo's starting to try to hold on because Soto's doing damage with some of these shots. Bloody nose for Francisco Lorenzo now, the product of right hands by Humberto Soto. Oh, another combination, and down goes Lorenzo. And this is starting to be the potential bloodletting we might have expected.
I don't think he's going to make it through this fight because it's not any one punch, it's just accumulation. Now he's like mentally he's finished as well as physically.
He seems surprised at the amount of pop that Soto has. We're not.
No,
We've seen it.
Especially when he come up through the sun up there. That's the left uppercut again.
That left hook.
Left uppercut.
Joe Cortez is thinking of stopping it. I'm not sure why he pulled Soto off. It looked to me like he thought he was going to stop it, and now Lorenzo goes down to a knee as if to say, I'm not ready for more. And Cortez is going to take a moment to try to figure out what he's looking at here.
The man
I
dropped
don't think Lorenzo can go on. His nose is crushed.
What?
So Cortez has called a foul. He's saying that Soto hit him behind the head, apparently. Let's hear Harold Letterman, what'd you say?
Joe Cortez said that Humberto Soto hit Francisco Lorenzo when he was on a canvas. In other words, he said it was a late shot. At that point, instead of counting, he called time.
His eyes cut up.
Okay.
He can't fight.
Yeah, the ring doctor is now saying to Joe Cortez, why bother? Cortez is going to talk to Nevada State Athletic Commission Executive Director Keith Kaiser.
I don't see what's the big problem. When the guy was bending his head and bobbing and weaving up and down, how can you tell when his knee is on the floor? He was continually going up and down all the time.
I think he's actually talking about disqualifying Soto to hit him inside the canvas, which would be disgusting.
That would be an injustice.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clear TKO victory from Humberto Soto. That's all there is to it.
Sure looks that way to me.
Absolutely.
It's quite obvious that Francisco Lorenzo is not going to be able to fight anymore. He's lying on his back with blood streaming out of his nose.
It should have been stopped a few seconds before that. The fighter gave the impression that he was finished then.
Yeah.
But he got hit when he was down. Right. I don't know if he got a choke, but he got hit when he was down.
Crowd waits to see what's going to happen. Seems like another hard luck moment is brewing in Soto's career.
Doctor stopped in the front because of the cut, but he opened it when he was down.
Well, we have a microphone on Joe Cortez, but either it's muffled by the rope as he leans across it.
No, Jim, he's got his hand over it.
Yeah,
And what's going on is he can't make up his mind if he wants to give a TKO to Soto, which is what it's supposed to be, because this guy's all cut up, or if he wants to disqualify him for a shot on the floor that meant absolutely nothing.
And then nothing. The guy had his head going up and down, up and down. You couldn't. He was ducking like that so much you couldn't even tell.
The call should be a TKO
The fighter can't
for
tell
Soto, and that's all there is to it.
It's not clear whether he's going to get that credit. It was exactly the devastating performance that you would have expected from Soto under these circumstances. Bouncing back, trying to show his worth in the wake of his disappointing loss to Guzman. Looking to put himself in a position to fight fighters like Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. And the other stars of the 130 and 35-pound weight classes. Guys like Jorge Linares and Robert Guerrero are truly going to move up to 130. Soto's exactly the kind of gatekeeper they should have to go through to try to get championship-style fights. But will he be?
You know, Jim, what bothers me in this case is the referee is the only one that's allowed to make a decision here, and he's got everybody around him. Why, I don't know. It's the referee's call. Either you want to call it a TKO or you want to call it a disqualification. There's absolutely no room in boxing for this kind of stuff. He doesn't have to have a whole conference with 10 guys to make up his mind what it is. And in my mind, it's a clear TKO victory for Humberto Soto.
And some experts have openly in the past referred to Cortez as the best referee in the sport, which may only show you how dangerous it is to say that somebody's the best referee in a sport that is so difficult to officiate.
Say what you may, but this is why sometimes I appreciate the situation like Larry Hazard was as a commissioner, where he would step in and have stopped and cleared this up, and the decision would have been announced, and we'd move on to the next fight.
That's unquestionably true, that Larry Hazard, the deposed former State Athletic Commission chairman in New Jersey, would have made a decision within 30 seconds and would have enforced that decision. Right or wrong, that would have been done with in a hurry.
But flip side, when Larry was a referee, Larry made the decision in 30 seconds.
But he was a fantastic referee,
He was a fantastic referee.
Let's make one more point about that. In New Jersey, and I've harped on this in the past, in New Jersey they would have instant replay. And at this moment, the referee, if he wanted, could go to a monitor and look at exactly what our cameras showed about what happened and make a decision on that basis. Only in New Jersey.
I don't think it's just about whether he was on the floor. It was the fact that the fighter who was throwing the punches couldn't see that. He had his knees, his head was going up and down continually anyway. And the man was in the middle of a volley, so he didn't even know if his feet was on his. And that's the issue, is either whether it was intentional or not.
Cortez waves his arms, but what's the decision?
Whose arm is he raising?
We know the fight's over, so he doesn't have to say that.
He's going to Michael Buffer to tell Buffer what to say.
You take one look at the man on the floor and you know the fight's over.
And Soto goes to pick Lorenzo up
Jim, what happened to the
put
days?
him back in the corner.
What happened to the days where the referee used to go over and lift up the arm of the winner?
Well, I'm not sure that Cortez is ruling that there's a winner here. I think it's entirely possible that we are going to see the disqualification you've discussed, Harold.
I think it'd be a travesty. To give the title to Francisco Lorenzo, sitting on the floor, all busted up and bleeding, doesn't sit right with me somehow or another, Jim. He got cut up by legal, clean punches.
And it was a progress from the setup because he spent most of the time laying flat.
We are going to see a disqualification according to what I'm told. Here's Michael Buffer to read what may be the very unpopular news.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Joe Cortez has called a halt to this bout. The official ruling is Lorenzo was hit while down. That's a disqualifying blow, ruled an intentional blow as he was down. The fight comes to an end. The winner by disqualification, Francisco Lorenzo.
Point one, this is not an easy sport to officiate. Point two, it is abundantly clear who was the better fighter in this fight. Point three, Francisco Lorenzo was going to the canvas of his own volition. Now here's the first knockdown. Emmanuel, talk about what we're looking at.
Well, you see right here, the guy was going down back and forth so much. And, you know, the word that they use in the announcement was intentional. That's what bothers me.
Disqualifying blow there.
They said intentional low blow.
Couldn't possibly have been a disqualifying blow in that sequence. Is this the second sequence now? This is still the first sequence, a different view. Francisco Lorenzo goes down, grabs Soto's leg. Soto throws his glove past Lorenzo's head, but does not make contact. Now let's take a look at the end of the fight.
There you see his knees is going back and forth, up and down so much, and the fighter who's up on top can't tell whether the fighter is on the ground or not.
At what point did Soto make contact with Lorenzo while he was down?
We didn't get to it yet.
That was
right
enough.
there. That's a disqualifying blow.
I don't even think the punch even landed. If it did, it wasn't in the pack. The man was in the
It
process of having throwing a combination to finish his man off, which is what a professional fighter is trained to do when he has his man hurt in this situation.
That right there is what Joe Cortez decided was worthy of a disqualification against Humberto Soto. And here's one more look as Lorenzo voluntarily goes to the canvas. First, Cortez pulls the fighters apart for no apparent reason, then pulls them apart again for no apparent reason. Seems to be trying to stop the fight. And now as he steps in the third time and Lorenzo goes to the canvas by himself, Soto's left glove glances across the top of Lorenzo's skull. Glances. So very technically, he made contact while Lorenzo was down on the canvas, and very technically, Joe Cortez elects to disqualify Humberto Soto. Final CompuBox numbers will show you the landslide in Soto's favor as he easily disposed of Lorenzo in that round, ending up landing 37 more punches, throwing 67 more punches, landing at a higher connect percentage, landing by far the harder blows. And now Humberto Soto, the loser in the fight by disqualification, stands by at ringside with us. Your response to having been disqualified by referee Joe Cortez.
Pues no lo entiendo, yo realmente nunca le pegué un cabezazo abajo, todos les pasaban rozando.
I don't understand that. I never hit him when he was down. They were all glancing.
El referee nunca se metió y dijo no más.
The referee never stopped it. He never said no more.
Your glove may have made a glancing contact with the top of his head while his knee was on the canvas. In your interpretation of the rules, would that be enough to be disqualified?
No, no, porque realmente los golpes míos fueron al aire. El referee nunca dijo la pelea, se terminó.
No, because my punches were in the air, and the referee never said that's it.
Did you understand why Cortez was pulling the two of you apart 2 or 3 times during that sequence while you were going for the knockout against that fighter?
Sí, yo lo miré que estaba adentro, pero él nunca se metió y dijo, la pelea se terminó. Entonces, si la pelea no se está, si él me tira un golpe y me lo pega, yo tengo que responder rápido.
I saw that he was coming in and trying to intervene, but he never said stop at any moment in time. He was coming in, but I have to defend myself in case a punch comes in.
Well, let's take a look at the sequence once again on videotape. And Humberto, you talk us through what you understand is going on here against a fighter who clearly has been beaten by your punches, who is bloodied, who is going to the canvas on his own. What happens next?
¿Qué pasa ahí entonces?
Pues no lo entiendo, yo veo claramente aquí cuando el referee ya se mete y él dice no más.
I see now when the referee comes in and then he says, stops it there. He says no more.
And at that point, the long discussion began. How startled were you to realize that the referee was going to ringside to talk with the State Athletic Commission's executive director about the possibility of disqualifying you from the fight?
Sí, me sorprendió porque nunca imaginé que fuera a llegar esto.
It really surprised me. I never imagined it would come to this.
Humberto, you seem to have a career tainted by hard luck. Early on, you fought out of economic necessity and wound up against opponents that you shouldn't have been in with. Eventually, you get to a point where you lose a fight to Juan Guzman and you say to yourself, he didn't really want to fight. Now this, do you feel as though you can't get the luck that you deserve in the ring?
Pues la suerte no me acompaña, pero toda la gente que está aquí me ha visto ganar y me ha seguido, por eso me ha tenido tanta fe y por eso los quiero mucho.
Luck has unfortunately not been with me, but obviously here the people are here. They know what they come to see. They come to see me, and I'm thankful for that.
What next? Do you want a rematch against this fighter, or do you want to go on to other business?
Pues no sé si él quiere agarrar la revancha, porque para la revancha sí le voy a tumbar la cabeza.
I don't know if he wants a rematch, because for the rematch I'm going to knock his head off.
Humberto, thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of your career. Emmanuel Stewart, your response to what's going on here in this fight?
Well, Jim, I promised my 2 daughters that I wouldn't cuss on TV anymore. And I'm just about to break that promise. You know, this was disgusting. You know, here's a guy that was doing what he was trained to do. To knock a man out. The man is hurt. He's falling back and up, getting up and bending his head down. The fighter don't even know whether the guy is touching the floor or not. And the word they use, intentional, that is a disgrace. This is bad. And I mean, and there's no way in the world this guy, I wouldn't even want to fight a rematch if I was Humberto. I would just let it go and move on.
In defense of Joe Cortez, he is a referee with a long and quality dossier. He has a reputation as being one of the best referees in the sport. Is there a logical defense for the difficulty of having to make this decision and the ultimate determination of disqualification, or in your view, is there no defense?
I'm just dealing with tonight. Forget about your record and all that. In the future, in the past, tonight was bad.
All right, well, right now we can tell you that we are attempting to solicit an interview with Joe Cortez because we'd love to hear his side of the story. Obviously, this was important business for a significant fighter because Humberto Soto, as you can see, is a high-quality competitor, a hard puncher, a skilled fighter who figures very significantly into both the 130 and 135-pound pictures. We've talked about what a linchpin Manny Pacquiao is and how he becomes the focal point for a lot of important business in the sport. One of the people who desperately wants to fight Manny Pacquiao to earn the kind of money he's never had a chance to earn in his career is Humberto Soto, and he's clearly somebody who would create a great fight with Pacquiao because of his aggressive, hard-punching style. You have to hope that this kind of thing won't stand in the way of Soto getting the kinds of fights he deserves.
Well, if I was in a rating committee, I would move him up from this fight. I mean, forget what is called here officially. I felt the man won a great fight, a good knockout of a man who's never been stopped before, did everything he was supposed to do, and as far as I'm concerned, forget what was the official verdict. If I was running the rating committee, he would be moved up and be entitled to fight for the title, which he earned.
I've known Emmanuel Stewart 30 years. I've never seen you this angry before. All right, we're going to try to get Nevada State Athletic Commission Executive Director Keith Kaiser because apparently we are not going to be allowed to interview Joe Cortez. So stick with us. We're bringing Kaiser over, and he's going to join us at ringside right now. Eventually, still to come, we have the main event between Manny Pacquiao and David Diaz, but the drama here right now attends the unusual decision, or so it appears to us, to disqualify Humberto Soto for what took place in this fight. And we're pleased now to have the Executive Director of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Keith Kaiser, with us. Keith, thanks very much for being willing to step in front of the camera to discuss what is obviously in the view of this crowd and also in our view as commentators, an extremely controversial decision to disqualify Humberto Soto. What was the discussion between you and Joe Cortez?
The discussion was Mr. Soto had Mr. Lorenzo had 3 injuries. He had a messed up nose, he had a bad cut, and he also had a possible concussion from a blow to the back of the head. So the discussion with the doctor and the referee was, why can he not continue according to the referee? And if obviously it was due to the cut, which was some illegal punch, it had been a knockout victory for Mr. Soto. The referee and the doctor both said the cut itself would not cause the fight to be stopped. However, the punch to the back of the head is the sole reason the fight is being stopped. I then asked the referee, was the punch to the back of the head intentional or was it accidental? He, without a doubt, said it was intentional, and therefore, under the rules, if a fight cannot continue due to an intentional foul, it must be ruled a disqualification.
Keith, I respect you very much. We're going to show you a videotape replay of what took place at the end of the fight. I defy you to find us a punch to the back of the head that might have caused a concussion. Take a look and see, okay? There's Lorenzo going down. There's a missed punch with the right hand.
Watch it, right there.
That looked to be a glancing contact to our eyes. That's a judgment, obviously.
Well, I can tell you, the doctors examined Mr. Lorenzo right after the blow and held that it was a concussive effect.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate your coming to be forthcoming in that way. So you heard Keith Kaiser's explanation and the suggestion that doctors decided that what we ourselves thought was a glancing blow was in fact potentially concussive enough to cause dangerous impact to the back of Francisco Lorenzo's head. Obviously, it's a dangerous sport. Obviously, there is a mandate for medical and supervisory personnel to try to maintain safety standards to every degree possible to protect fighters. But there also, in our view, should be a judgment in place that positively favors the fighter who has clearly won the competitive battle. And in this particular instance, by our lights, it did not appear that concussive damage was done to the back of Francisco Lorenzo's skull at a moment when Lorenzo himself seemed to be trying to get out of the fight. Well, we're almost ready for the fighter walkouts for our featured bout here at the Mandalay Bay Event Center. Coming up next, our main event, David Diaz versus Manny Pacquiao for Diaz's 135-pound championship.